Don't brag. No, just...
It's easy.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So this is a little different than yesterday's question.
Of course it is.
Yeah, maybe. Same answer. This one's about money. I want a lot of money. I have a lot of money, but it's not mine. And I have awesome parents that have helped me and assisted me in living my life. And I spoke to you about...
Have they taught you a vibrational way? In other words, through the power of their point of attraction, have they enhanced your sense of attraction?
Yeah.
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 That's a wonderful gift, isn't it? The money is just a byproduct of that, but that's
right.
Really their gift to you.
It's conditional money, though. I want to do so many things, and they're all conditioned by money. And 2 years ago, we talked about the same thing. And you basically, from what I got from it, is you told me to take the money out of the equation and to focus on all the other abundance in my life, which is very obvious. And
yeah, that is child's play, but we want to hear what you mean, and it matters. This is a good conversation. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by conditional money? That things are conditional on money. Give us a little bit about that.
Well, specifically with a large majority of how I survive is based on my father and his money that he's created through his life.
Yes.
So I want to do certain things. For instance, I want to go to India.
Before you go further, and we want to hear all these details.
Sure.
But before you go further, we want to talk about the platform on which you stand that is in large part based upon those who have gone before. So while you feel like some of the money that's flowing to you, or maybe most of the money that's flowing to you, or maybe all of the money that's flowing to you is coming through the avenue that you're calling parents or someone who has been here before, we want to remind you of something that's going to soften that awareness, and that is that this non-physical legacy and energy that we're talking about, there are a whole lot of those who have gone before, and there are a whole lot of those who have been physically focused who are now non-physically focused and focused on you. So all of this non-physical energy that we're talking about that is supporting you and uplifting you and guiding you and leading you, it's about parents too, and their parents 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 and their parents. So it's good for you to not play that game that a lot of people are playing about you needing to just start fresh and just be your own person relative to everything, because that's not ever going to happen. You are a long time extension of a whole lot of things, and it's just fine to be the leading edge recipient of a whole lot that's gone before. You all drove on roads that you did not build, that were planned by people who were thinking far into the future before most of you were even born. In other words, there's a whole lot of longevity going on, and it's really a good thing to stop beating the drum of needing to prove your worthiness by what you are now about, because there's not one thought that you're ever going to think that isn't a continuation of some thought that somebody else thought. You're not starting over ever, and so give yourself a break and feel the benefit of the blending in with what's come before. We want that to help you.
It does, and I own that, and I understand that. But I would also, they're not going to be here forever, and I'd also like to be more independent and be able to have my own.
Of course you want to be independent.
But nothing's changed.
That's where all the fun is.
Right, I agree. But nothing has shifted from the work that you told me to do 2 years ago till now. I'm financially, I'm in the exact same place, and I feel that I'm doing good. And my life is extraordinarily awesome in all ways. The journey is...
So it's interesting that you're living a different contrast than a lot of people are living. In other words, a lot of people who don't have the money that are flowing, that's contrast that is squirting them out in other ways. But your contrast is a different kind of contrast that's squirting you out in other ways. But it's still contrast, and you still have desire that you're putting into your vortex. So your desire is for stronger independence. But we want it to be independence, not proving something.
Are you saying I'm proving something? I don't feel like I'm trying to prove something.
We want you to feel the difference between your own independence and wanting to prove something. In other words, independence just means that today I'm getting to think the thought that's most active in my mind, and it includes a whole lot of people other than my father. It includes much more than any one subject stream in my life experience. Because you said things are exactly the same, but they aren't.
I know vibrationally they're
It's a
not.
very different vibration, which means the contrast of your life has caused you to ask for things that are different than what you were asking for before.
But I still have no money.
Say again?
I still have no money in the bank, and I'm not looking in the bank. I take the money out of the equation, and I just focus on the abundance that I do have.
So what are you doing? Do you work for your father?
No, I teach yoga. I've been traveling. I lived in Portland for 6 months, and
So you're cashing in your vibrational chips right now.
yeah.
So do you have any desire to form any relationship between your activity and money? Because now, don't misunderstand, we're not guiding you toward that. Because
With my passions and my money, like combining what I'm into to make money.
what we're getting at is that most people have no ability to separate the money that's flowing to them from the activity that they're offering. In other words, almost everybody believes that they have earning power, which means they have action power, which means they must perform action in order to earn, in order to get money.
I don't believe that.
Well, that's a good thing, because that belief in this much action producing this much earning, producing this much money, is really limiting. And you can see it in people around, because most do not have as much flowing to them as they would want to, because they believe in their action, and their action is limited, so they limit their money. So you could say that you are steps ahead in that regard. So what's the hang up here? In other words, don't you all sort of want to know what his hang up is? Why isn't it perfect harmony? Why aren't you saying, well, I've got the money thing down because I know I don't have to earn it and money just flows to me. So what is the hang up with
I guess
that?
it's that my father, who's supplying the money, he has no concept of
But you
this.
see, every employer you have feels the same way.
Okay.
Esther loves all these guys, but if they don't show up, she's not going to give them any money. And so Esther's putting conditions on the money that flows through her to them. And so what's the difference? Your father's putting conditions on the money that flows from him to you?
Because he
So he's sort of an unconventional employer, but what's the rub?
that there's a condition. Like there's all these things I'm saying hell yes to and I'm driven to want to do, but they're all conditioned by I have to have a certain amount of money to do it. And
well, he's not the only avenue through which your money flows.
right, I could obviously get it.
So let him be the basis of this money, and then ask the universe to bring you more avenues of more money.
Well, I guess
there's
that's
unlimited money available for you.
Well, that's what I do, and I guess that's my question is
Yeah.
it's something I'm doing or not doing that's hindering
We
the
think you're
flow.
just hung up on, and this is not uncommon, we think that you're just hung up on, it's like someone said earlier today about writing a book. I'd sort of like to not do this. I really like this awesome job, but I'd like to maybe not do it so that I could work on writing a book. And we said most people don't write the book when they give up their awesome job, because that's not what's keeping them from writing the book. And so there's nothing that is stopping you from opening other avenues through which money will flow, except that somehow you've become conditioned to believe that it's either only going to come through that one avenue, or as long as it's coming through that one avenue, that you can't do other things to bring it along too.
So it's a mental approach.
It always is.
Right.
It always is. Is the money that's flowing to you conditional on things that you do? In other words, are you required to be in a specific place and do a certain thing, or is the money just flowing? And is it enough money that you can experience a comfortable life experience?
Yeah.
And so if you could get yourself into a feeling of soft and increasingly powerful appreciation rather than guilt. So where do you think the guilt comes from?
My father, that old school approach of you got to work really hard to get what you want type
And
of
yet
thing.
he's defying his own intentions if he believes that, because you're not working really hard and he's giving you money. Maybe he doesn't mean it in the way you think he means it.
He doesn't mean it. I know he doesn't, but
So that's a perception that you could leave behind, because if he really meant that, he'd be saying, well, I'm going to give you some money, but walk over there and then walk over there and then walk over there. You've got to do something for this money. And he's not saying any of that to you. The money's flowing because it's harmonic for him for the money to flow, because he understands you're finding your way. And we know for sure that he would have liked to have had the experience of being able to find his way. So look for the harmonics in this. Your guilt is self-imposed. And we're not saying that your father doesn't guilt trip you a little bit every now and again, but hardly enough to even talk about.
yeah, it's not that bad. So just make peace.
So you know what you're doing? You're trading your money for guilt. That's how you're paying the price of this money.
Say that again.
We will. They all got it the first time.
I didn't get it.
You're paying the price for the money with your guilt.
So just not care how it comes?
A lot of people suffer hardship to earn their money. They're out in the sun doing something, or they have to show up here and listen to us say the same thing week after week after week after week.
Horrible job, man. Horrible job.
There's a lot of hardship. But what we're getting at, a lot of people feel like they are paying some price for the money. Now, we don't want you to feel that way. We want you to know that money's just flowing, and you can open avenues for it to flow, wide or as narrow of an avenue as you want to. But it is a sort of mental mindset in this culture in which you are fostered that says you have to earn in some way. And so since you're not putting blacktop on the highway, or, and the money is flowing, there's still the belief in suffering for money, so you're doing your suffering through feeling guilty.
So just not care.
Which sort of evens it all out. So you could say, this is hard-earned money because I suffer a lot. Guilt is far worse than hard labor. It is.
So just literally just make peace with how it comes.
Make
and
peace
just
with how it comes.
Focus
Appreciate that it comes. Feel appreciation that your Father has let you know how it's coming.
It's a gift. Yeah.
It is a gift in more ways than just the literal money that is coming. And now we want to tie back into what we said earlier to you about your Father is flowing dollars to you, and that's a wonderful thing. And Esther is flowing dollars out, and that's a wonderful thing. And you're all flowing dollars out and in, and that's a wonderful thing. Dollars are flowing, and that's a wonderful thing. But there is something more significant flowing than dollars, and that's energy.
Right.
That's clarity, that's knowledge, that's love, you see.
Total love.
And so what happens is, in your misunderstanding, which we feel very strongly that we've cleared up here, in your misunderstanding about paying the price for the money through guilt, you're pinching yourself off from your true resource. And that's why the other stuff that you want to do hasn't started to flow yet, but it will now.
Because
Because you've been holding yourself in guilt over the money that's been flowing.
Okay.
Can you feel that? Ooh. Yeah. Really good.
Okay. Thank you.
Really good.
I love you.